Today we're gonna be testing the RTX 2060 versus the GTX 1070 in 8 games, including Apex, the latest Metro, we got Fortnite, we got Battlefield 5, and yeah, we got many more. Now if you're new here, hey, my name is Robin, I test graphics cards, and yeah, I also review other gaming related peripherals. Now what system are we testing on this time? So I've been running all the tests on a Ryzen 2700X at stock clocks on an Asus ROG B450F motherboard and 16GB of RAM clocked at 3000 MHz. This is the PC I made a whole video on a few days ago, and so for more information about this build, check out the links down below. Now usually I like to do these tests on budget friendly systems, as I know a lot of you guys seems to appreciate. This time however, I wanted to see what a beefier build would score with two mid-range kind of high-end graphics card, I guess. I know there's been a few questions wondering if the RTX 2060 could beat the GTX 1070 even though it has less VRAM. Anyway, let's look at the benchmark. Now for additional details of each card, have a look at the description below. First game out is Apex, and to no surprise both cards offers a great experience. Keep in mind I am running in the highest graphics here. You typically only see the lower numbers in the dropship before jumping off the ship. Running around on the ground I was most of the time, seeing numbers well above the 100 FPS mark most of the time on both cards, and so a very smooth experience even on the insane graphics, VRAM, texture budget on the GTX 1070. And with this option activated, the game is in fact almost allocating all of the 8GB VRAM, which is pretty interesting. Now let's move on to Battlefield 5. Battlefield 5 is a game that manages to score pretty well for both cards, even at very high graphics, thanks to the ray tracing cores on the RTX 2060. Enabling this in the graphics option can give you an even richer experience, although it tanks the frame rate quite a lot. In fact, it roughly cuts the numbers in half, and so quite frankly I only recommend using this in single player war story campaign, as it makes little to no sense to have this activated in multiplayer, in my opinion. But I would love to hear you guys' opinion here as well. Now let's move on to Fortnite. Fortnite maxed out is a pleasant experience on both cards. The RTX 2060 manages to score a bit higher, and so the 6GB VRAM versus 8GB VRAM doesn't seem to make any difference, as the game never allocated more than around 3GB regardless of card I was playing on. So let's move on to the most demanding game in this benchmark test. Metro Exodus is very beautiful at times, and cranking up the graphics all the way can give you some noticeable occasional frame dips here and there. However, overall the GTX 1070 manages to do pretty well in this game, and jumping on the RTX 2060 we gained about 10 FPS average here. Now speaking of RTX, turning this on is very tempting, knowing that Metro is one of few games that actually support this, but unfortunately it tanks the numbers quite a lot. And so with RTX enabled, or when RTX was on, yeah, I guess that's what Jensen would have said, we went below the 60 FPS mark, and so right now I don't think it's worth it, not for this card at least. I'm gonna make a separate video here where I will go over this in much greater details for you guys, because I think it's an interesting topic. Let's move on to Far Cry, which is a game that seems to be quite CPU heavy, and weirdly enough I didn't manage to see much of a difference in regards to the numbers between the cards in this game running the built-in benchmark tool. So let's move on to Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which is another great looking game that benefits from a fast graphics card, and this is actually one of few games that allocates more than 6GB VRAM. Running the test on the GTX 1070, I was noticing how the game were allocating up to 6.5GB of VRAM for this card, whereas the RTX 2060 only allocated 5.9, give or take. It's hard to tell if the game is just allocating the memory or if it's actually in fact using it, but regardless both cards delivers a stutter and lag-free experience. Looking at Devil May Cry, it's not a very demanding game, and if you're planning on playing this game you can definitely expect to run it with great great visual details even with a slightly older graphics card. And yeah, lastly we got FAT 2018. This game has a built-in graphics benchmark that really pushes the system to its limit, and as you can see, both card manages to average well above the 60 FPS mark with 1% low, just over the golden mark, running the game at the ultra high settings. Now if you're interested to find out how these two cards perform versus the 1660 Ti, the 1060 or older graphics cards, or even the AMD cards, the RX 580 or the RX 590 in games such as Fortnite and Apex, I've lined up a few videos down below, and there are gonna be more videos coming in the following days. I'm gonna be back, guys, with a brand new video in just a day or two. Thank you so much for watching this video. Until next time, have an awesome day, right?